That looked like a hostage video, didn't it?
It looked like this.
Jason Kidd was sitting there. I guess Nico was still on the scene.
Yeah.
And Kidd sitting there next to him, and they're in the aftermath, like the day after they traded Luka Doncic, and he literally looked like they're the old reveal that we talk about with Hank Aaron, talking about the Barry Bonds breaking his record, where they pull back and there are two guys with ski masks on and machine guns pointed at his head. As he says, "Well, yeah, I also saw this as a good move."
He's making no facial expressions.
Take a guy out of the lineup who's averaging 40 points a game.
Just went to the
and
finals.
throws in the other two stats for a triple-double as a matter of routine, even though he doesn't look like his vertical leap is more than a half inch. He's still grabbing 12 rebounds a game. How the hell is he doing that? He dishes off 12 assists and doesn't miss in the clutch. Sure, we're getting rid of that guy.
He's like, we just play with the guys we have. He looks scared.
That was one of the all-time phony press conferences. You know how we love it. He looked stunned. He looked like he was on massive amounts of sedatives to sit down there and not be enraged the entire time.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
Very pleasant good Monday morning, everybody. Peel yourself off to that Monday edition of the program. We're back in action. Jeff DeForest. We got Mike Lubie Lubitz. I don't know what one word would describe it best. Electrifying, stimulating, inspiring, exhilarating. What a great weekend of sporting activity we had to talk about here on today's show. And, of course, much more upcoming as we get into the early part of the week with an NBA game tonight of great significance. And, of course, tomorrow night, a possible NHL Stanley Cup clinching game right here in our hometown of South Florida. Good to have you guys with us. Where would you like to begin? There'll be a big trade in Major League Baseball. Rafael Devers goes to the San Francisco Giants. The Boston Red Sox apparently got tired of him before the season even started. And then he didn't necessarily enhance his image with the team when they wanted him to play first base. He said, "I ain't going to first base. Get out of here." Of course, they traded for Alex Bregman during the offseason, the third baseman from the Houston Astros, who's a home run hitter, who seems to fit the bill for any kind of Fenway type of swing. And I guess he's done well. I haven't tracked him lately, but he was producing for them. And he was unlikely to make that swap to first base because he's 5'8". Or whatever, very diminutive type. So, Devers didn't necessarily endear himself to Red Sox management and Alex Cora. And they made the deal. They got a couple of pitchers from the San Francisco Giants. I don't know. Would you say they're of any great distinction, Lubie? I'm looking at the stats here. They're pretty anemic. You had Kyle Harrison was one of the guys, 1-1 on the season, 4.56 ERA. The other guy, Jordan Hicks, the other pitcher they got, 1-5. And he has that Oksana Bayul blood alcohol level as an average, 6.47. So,
God. Jeez.
Was that just a pump and dump there? They decided, hey, we can't stand this guy anymore. And a good move. Scott Posey is actually pulling the strings for the San Francisco Giants, who, to my surprise, I think, I know they made some moves in the offseason, but I'm surprised how closely they're tracking the Los Angeles Dodgers, who every time you see a guy come to the plate, you're going, my God, what kind of lineup is this? And now they have Kershaw back pitching actually well. And they had my guy May on the mound yesterday. It looked like Carrot Top. He's got the red hair coming out of the back of the hat there. But not exactly running away and hiding from the Padres and the Giants in the National League West. So you had that. You also had the U.S. Open, which was sensational. What spectacular stuff. I mean, you had to love this story. It was my man Mike Donald, only this time it went the other way, where J.J. Spawn, longtime journeyman, I guess he'd made a little bit of noise this year. He's been around for a while, seemed to be one of those also-rans that you see in the field in PGA tournaments. Maybe he's more significant when the top guys are playing somewhere else and he's playing in Mexico or whatever. But very few wins on the tour. I don't know exactly how many he had. Did he have one or two prior to this? I'm not sure. But it led essentially wire to wire, except he fell off the lead in the final round, which was decimated by bad weather. They had a rain delay for a while. When they came back out, it looked like the conditions worsened. That rough was ridiculous. Well, when have you seen a course without trees? No trees anywhere were a factor that would play that with that degree of difficulty.
I don't know.
But the rough was worse than it is. Well, we often joke about it when they have these courses for the British Open, now the Open, where you literally need a machete to get out of the rough there. And I mean, the guy himself disappears. Never mind the ball. The guy goes off the fairway. Next thing you know, he's in grass that's higher than over his head. And you're thinking, how the hell are you going to hit out of that? And then they got those pot bunkers that you need a rope ladder to climb out of. But this was really, really treacherous stuff. And it became extremely exciting as you had 5 or 6 guys right there at the end. The announcers were brutal, though, trying to make Scotty Scheffler a contender in this thing. He's 4 over. He's 5 or 6 shots out of it. I guess he got to within 4 shots of the lead because Spawn was, I think, he had gone to 1 over Spawn, but then came back and he was leading late in the tournament at even par. And no, he finished up 1 under, so he birdied the last 2 holes to finish at 1 under. So he was also 1 over. It looked like it was going to be a massive playoff, which they have changed from the days when our man Mike Donald had to go head to head with Hale Irwin. 1990 was the year. And I'm trying to get a hold of Mike and see if we can't get him on one of our shows here to tell that story, because this had a lot of parallels, a lot of similarities where I don't know that it was going to be as much of a life-changing thing as it would have been for Mike in 1990 with the different considerations that come along with winning a U.S. Open in terms of automatically qualifying. The Open title came with a 10-year tour exemption, Lubie, back then. Not sure what the different things that go along with winning the Open account for now, but one thing they account for is like a $4 million payday.
Jeez.
Which is sure nice. Now, I'm sure Spawn wasn't starving because it seems
Right.
like if you're in the top 100, you're making like $1 million a year, but which is no small amount of capital to operate with. But that was a great story. So, and that came down. The guy holds a 64-foot putt in the rain. You've been out on courses, right? And you insist to keep on playing because you're close to the finish, and even though it's pouring out. The ranger is chasing you. Hey, come on, you guys got to go into the clubhouse. It's lightning. And you're thinking, no, we're just going to finish. We're going to finish. And then you get to the green, and it's sopping wet. It looks like some flood that you would see in North Carolina. And you can't imagine making a putt under that circumstance. Now, he's 64 feet away. He has to 2-putt to win the tournament. Otherwise, he's going to be in a playoff with this guy, Robert McIntyre, who finished up at 1 over par. McIntyre's watching. And you're asking yourself, can he really get this thing close enough so that he has the opportunity to hit that second putt in and win the tournament without having to go to the playoff? And you're thinking from that distance, under those conditions, this ball could be anywhere. He could easily leave it 15 feet short.
Yep.
And sure enough, he holds the damn thing. That was absolutely fantastic. And, I mean, just a fantastic weekend all the way around. I don't know. In the Panther game against Edmonton, does it not look like Panthers in 6 at this point, Lubie? Where do you want to start with this? Let's start with the hometown team. What did you think?
We can. It was exhilarating, actually. It was nice to see them play their brand of hockey for, I don't know, a second straight game, because they were up and down in game 5. The fact that they gave up a lead again, gave up a 3-0 lead, and then found a way to score in the remaining seconds to get to overtime, and then give up an annoying goal to lose. It was nice to see them play a game like that from beginning to end. Their defense was suffocating from beginning to end. Their offense was suffocating from beginning to end. And Bobrovsky was there.
Yep.
He didn't have to do much. Look, and he still gave up 2 really, really bad goals. And then McDavid made a nice move, but he had a defender to his left. Like, he didn't have to react at all. Your defender's here. Just face McDavid. McDavid did like a move I would have done when I was 8 on roller skates. And he threw his whole body at him and gave him the whole net. It was a horrendous. And then the second goal was literally a ball chucked in from the blue line. Harry wasn't even looking at the net. He was just trying to, because they're down 3 goals at that point, and he just throws it at the net from the blue line. Bobrovsky has no idea it's coming, but it didn't matter. He literally didn't face any action all night. They barely possessed the puck all night. And they were like, I don't know any other word but suffocating. Like, they did not give them any room. And as we've talked about it, if you don't give them any room to work, McDavid and Draisaitl, I don't know if it's easy to take them out of the game, but you can take them out of the game. And that's the difference between the Panthers and the Oilers. Barkov only doesn't have a goal yet. I think Tkachuk has 1 goal. and the Panthers have led.
Kachuk had a couple in the
He did have 2 goals. He did
Yeah.
have 2 goals. But that's what I'm saying. He has 2 goals throughout the entire 6-game series. He's widely regarded their second best overall player. Barkov finally got on the board with a nice assist in this game, but he wasn't on the scoreboard exactly. We know he's played really well off the scoreboard, but he hasn't gotten goals or assists. And they literally have led for, is it 180 of the, or 100, 180 of the 210 minutes? Like, that's what we've said about this team. And that's why even after that, the games they've given away, you aren't trepidatious. You're just like, I as a fan am just annoyed because the series really should be over already. But you know what? You're up 3-2. You're coming home, and the Oilers have thrown everything at you, and you've really taken it in stride.
Panthers, I mean, as we were talking about on Friday, if you were scoring this as a fight, the Panthers are winning this easily, even without Adelaide Bird's scorecard being factored in. You're talking easily 8 rounds to 4, maybe even 9-3, 10-2, something like that. Seem to have the better team, and they have outperformed Edmonton the most part throughout the series. Still in there, 3-2. Edmonton in with a chance. What kind of odds would you give or be willing to take that this thing doesn't end on Tuesday night when they get back together here in South Florida for game number 6? You would have to be extremely confident if you were the Panthers. And then the big debate would be, who would be the MVP of the finals? Is it Brad Marchand?
There's no debate.
Sam Bennett.
It's Marchand. And Bennett's been fantastic. And if you take up his cumulative goals of the whole playoffs, he's been wonderful.
Marchand, overall for the playoffs, you would have to say Bennett, with the number of goals he scored, has been the MVP of the postseason.
Yes, this series, Marchand has 2 games of 2 goals, and all the goals were him. His little ass carrying 2 dudes on his hip and making the kind of goals that we wish to see. It wasn't like bouncing off of a head and then a knee and then a foot. It was him making a move on a goalie with defenders and getting the puck in. For a guy that's 37,
and a small guy. I mean, it's Dino Ciccarelli reincarnated here.
100%.
This guy, although brilliant skating moves, he looks like Dwight Freeney on skates, doesn't he? I mean,
yes.
Those swim moves that he made to work his way around the defenders for what accounted to breakaways. And we did talk about this, where you see the backup come in. Pickard comes in and literally picks up the Edmonton Oilers in game number 4. Gave up that late goal that sent it into overtime. But other than that, he was relatively spectacular and far superior to what we saw from Skinner, who had preceded him as the starting goalie and was giving up a bucket load of goals, seems like every game. But how many times have you seen that, where they bring in the backup, he comes in relief for the starter, and then the number 1 goalie goes to the bench as the backup earned a chance to start, and then he caves. Because
it's a backup for a reason. Like, that's what I say when I'm watching and they're playing well, just like we saw versus the Maple Leafs. I'm like, but he's the backup for a reason, guys. So, like, just if you can bring the pressure, we see it against any goalie. Look at Bobrovsky. When he's facing over 25 shots, he's given up 3 to 4 goals. He's done that in every game this series. Even that game, I think he faced less than 25 shots.
What was the first period number there? It was like 19-3 or something. I mean, it was just so lopsided.
Yep.
And immense pressure being put on by the Florida Panthers. And then, of course, their penalty kill has also been very significant, which you would think if Edmonton was going to have any chance, it seems like their only real hope is to either get one of those bonehead goals given up by Bobrovsky, which fortunately happened while the Panthers were well and comfortably in front in this game, or to go on a power play. And the Panthers managed to kill those off very successfully. So all signs are pointing for a second straight Stanley Cup, Mike Lubitz. And yet you can never concede anything.
No.
It's hockey. Puck takes weird bounces, vibrates, does all kinds of crazy stuff, rolls. You had a few times, too, where the Panthers looked like they had easy, just wide open scoring opportunities, couldn't cash them in. So looking very much forward to that. The buckets got interesting also, and I'm sure the professor would agree with this. Officiating played a big role in a couple of the sporting events over the weekend, including, and you're not expecting this to be the case as significantly as it was in the U.S. Open, but that Sam Burns guy, man, did he get roasted by the officials who wouldn't allow him to get a free drop. They're allowing Adam Scott, who's a darling of everybody, seems like a perfect gentleman. He was writing a great story. He was going to become I guess like the third oldest guy or whatever to win a U.S. Open or even a major championship. He's 44 years old, still looks great. Has been there and thereabouts a few times in the majors. He's played, I think, in it's like either 95 or 96 consecutive major tournaments.
Jeez.
He had more major experience than the next five guys in the standings on the leaderboard combined
God.
in terms of being in majors. And he was playing great. And he's getting all these generous free drops because of the standing water that was on the course. And then Burns comes to, what was that? Was that 16? One of the late holes in the closing round. And he asked an official if he could get a drop because he said he was in, in an area there that there was an excessive amount of water. They had just had a 2-hour rain delay, and it was actually raining at the time. So it's perfectly understandable, especially when you're up there against the first cut. He's in the fairway, ball is bordering and hovering on the first cut, and he asked the official for a drop, for a ruling, and the guy says, "No, you go ahead and play that." So he goes like he was Andy going to a hospital, and he asks for a second opinion. And the second guy comes and denies him the drop, and then he proceeds to shank one into some vicious rough. I mean, the ball literally disappears. He double bogeys the hole, and essentially tournament lost at that point. But after all the favorable rulings that Adam Scott had received from the officials, you would think that they would have been far more generous at that stage of the tournament. I mean, what would have killed him to allow this guy to drop the ball out of the puddle that he was in and get at least some semblance of a clean shot? At that stage of the tournament where he's right there, I mean, he was either one stroke back or tied for the lead. And it just seemed radically unfair. And then we saw the same thing in that Indiana Oklahoma City game. Scott Foster again. What is it about? I mean, is he like the cooler they bring in?
They call him the extender. They that's literally his nickname, is the extender.
He's Foo from Cambodia coming to the blackjack table after you've just hit 16 hands in a row. And you're partying. A couple of chicks have come over. You're tipping the waitress $100 every time she brings you a watered down cocktail, and you couldn't feel any better. You feel like the king of the world. You've already called the front desk and say you want to upgrade to a suite, and here she comes, Foo from Cambodia. What part of Cambodia are you from? I don't hear that question asked very often.
No, everyone runs.
She always comes in though with the pit boss who has a very sour face on at first, but then. Now he's coming with Foo and introduces her to the table and says, "This is Foo. We have lost more money with this woman than you could even imagine. It's amazing we're still open while she's dealing blackjack." And then, of course, she proceeds to clobber you. A series of brutal beats, the likes of which, and you keep sending it in thinking, she can't win again. She can't win again. How could she pull a freaking 6? 15. I'm sitting there chilly with 20. You're calling, "Hey, can you bring me a steak over here?" And okay, just order some clothes from the shop, sweetheart, and I'll meet you over there at the Bellagio shops. Right, next thing you know, you're paying $6,000 for a Judith Lieber purse, and thinking, really, $6,000? Yeah, you couldn't find anything that was a knockoff that would have been more favorable to my bankroll, and you get wiped out. But Scott Foster, he literally did that to the Indiana Pacers in that game, did he not? Those calls were horrendous at the end. I mean, talk about lopsided. Now, Matherin didn't help the cause any by missing 3 or 4 free throws late. But here's Indiana with a chance to go up 3-1 at home. They had a 4-point lead, I think, with less than, 2 minutes to go, something in that neighborhood. And the rest of the calls all went Oklahoma City's way. How could you have an agenda as an NBA? Did they just not want it to be 3-1?
100%.
What do you think? Does that call for an investigation? Or is it just so common?
Yeah. Well, no, he's the extender for a reason. He's Foster. He's there to keep series going. And it tends to happen very often when he's the ref.
What the hell was that? Gilgeous-Alexander, a great player. I mean, look, the guy, you would want him on your team. He's been fantastic. He was deserving of the MVP this year. They were the best team. He was their best player. Led the league in scoring. He comes through in the clutch. He does all the things that you would want to see in a basketball player. He's not necessarily a ball hog. He comes down the court on what turned out to be the shot that kind of put Oklahoma City in a commanding position. And that little fadeaway left side jumper from the baseline where he shoves, I think it was it Neesmith that was guarding him? shoves this guy with an elbow, and then takes 3 steps before he sets up for the shot. Now, he cans a nice shot. That's not an easy shot to make. Goes right through. He had just hit a couple of threes. But how you don't either call a foul on that guy, offensive foul, or traveling, beyond comprehension. And that was the shot that kind of put Indiana in a position where they then had to foul every time down the floor. And they went to the stripe. And unfortunately, Matherin, who was brilliant in game number 3 of that series, all of a sudden he can't hit a free throw. And the dynamic on the scoreboard, is it just that I gave out Indiana +6 as my lock of the century? That I'm bitter about this, Lubie? Because, of course, the final total was 7.
Yeah.
That was so ugly. What a brutal beat. Anybody that's bragging that they won on that game by taking OKC, laying 6 points, really should just be I don't recommend violence, but that they should be out of the Allman Brothers song, tied to the whipping post, beaten half to death for bragging about that, because there's no way that you could say, well, you see, I was right.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they literally stole that thing from OKC. So where does that leave us with that? You're thinking, as you've been predicting, you thought Oklahoma City would bounce right back from that 2-1 deficit and end up winning the series in 6 games. That looks very likely also, doesn't it?
I mean, I was wrong about that game. I thought we'd see a repeat of game 2. I thought the Thunder not only would win, but I thought they'd take the Pacers to the woodshed. The fact that the Pacers actually controlled the game until the last 2 minutes was actually impressive to me. That the Thunder shouldn't have even needed the Foster factor. Like, this series is way closer than anyone thought.
Yeah,
it's 2-2. It really should be 3-1 Pacers. And the Pacers are right there toe to toe. It's not just, okay, good for the Pacers. It's, no, we have a series, like you like to say, game on, dude. And I still think the Thunder will end up winning the series. But as sure as I was before Friday, like, even when it was 2-1 Pacers, I'm like, look, the Thunder are going to win the next 3 games. They're going to beat the crap out of them in this game. And then the next 2 may be interesting, but they'll win. That's not the case. I mean, the Pacers literally controlled that game. They may have lost it in the end for very interesting circumstances, but they were in it. And I don't think they're not going away. Like, this is going to be a series. They probably don't win tonight, but they probably do win game 6 when it comes back home. And this series, which it would go 6 to me, just as the Heat took the Nuggets to 6, but no one thought the Heat were going to win that series. Like, that's what I thought this series could be. I mean, it doesn't feel like it is now. It feels like it's a 7-game series, and the Pacers have a legitimate shot to take home the title, which no one would have told you at the beginning of the series.
No, I thought it was going to be Oklahoma City in 5. I was duped like everybody else into completely disregarding and disrespecting. I didn't disrespect the Indiana Pacers. It's just that we heard all season long how superior Oklahoma City was in the West, which for whatever reason, I don't know why. I mean, there's still that concept out there that the West is all about finesse and the East is this brutal, bad boy Pistons type of basketball. Which, if you think about it, I mean, that's hardly the case, considering the Celtics won the championship last year. And what do the Celtics do?
Chuck threes.
They chuck threes.
Yep.
Indiana doesn't do it to the same level.
They like
Oklahoma City hoists up its share of threes, and they appear to be. I mean, the two teams are somewhat mirror images of each other, are they not?
You feel a little closer to each other than people realized.
Yeah, very similar. I mean, they both are deep. They can play 8 or 9 guys off the bench.
Yep.
Altogether, and 4 or 5 guys off the bench. They do that. They're not afraid. This Degno ends up making a slight maneuver and puts Hartenstein into the starting lineup. So he has a couple of big guys out there. I don't know that was all that significant, because it literally boiled down to the officiating at the end of the ball game.
Yeah.
And the fact that Gilgeous-Alexander was great at the end of the game, in spite of them letting him get away with a couple of things.
He gets away with a lot. He gets away with a lot.
Yeah, even in even in the series with the Panthers and the Edmonton Oilers, there have been some spots there. I mean, you could kind of call a zillion penalties if you wanted to, and that the officials have missed a few things that were very favorable to the Florida Panthers, I thought.
Yes,
a couple of high sticks where yeah, I mean, even what was it? Was it the third goal that the Panthers scored
Yeah, there was definitely an accidental high stick that led.
I mean,
It
the
was
guy hammers the guy in the head. He nearly
before
decapitates.
the pass
Yeah,
that went for the goal,
and all of a sudden it's 3-zip at the end of a period.
and
That was huge. I mean, if you think about it, because
they did.
look, it doesn't take a genius to figure out 3-0 is far more insurmountable than 2-0 would be.
Mhm.
2-0, you come back for the second period, you get the first goal somehow in the first 10 minutes, and then you're right back in the contest. 3-0. There's a lot of work to do, and they did get one goal back, and then the Panthers quickly answered. So that, in essence, was the game right there, or so it seemed. But very exciting stuff all the way through. And the JJ Spawn story, I thought was just
That's
terrific stuff.
insane.
That's great when you see that. And so many guys are in contention, but they kept trying to put Scheffler into it. It's disgusting. I mean, don't pander to the guy. Look, he's a great player. He's having a phenomenal year after getting off. His slow start was finishing in the top 10 like a half a dozen times.
Yep.
Great player, no question. I know the professor points out what
All
may
right.
be a little bit of a lack of excitement factor. It's not like he's the most electrifying personality you're ever going to run into. He could be golf's answer to Joe Philbin, Scotty Scheffler. Although he's showing a little more personality of late, is he not? I mean, he's frustrated. He's throwing clubs. Got his swing coach out there at the after the third round, and you know he sounded like or looked like he was absolutely fuming about a few things. He came out there, and he's still like 8 shots back. And I'm like, oh, maybe Scotty can make a run. Like he's 8 shots back, and he's got to climb over 17 guys. And Mike Tirico, you're going to look into a camera and tell me that he's very much in play. Now, he did finish 5 shots back, which wasn't awful, but I mean, look at the number of guys that were in between Scotty Scheffler and the winner's circle there. You had to really stretch your imagination to see him winning that thing. And they kept trying to make this case. It's funny, too, because they get to certain stages in the tournament where the only time you see certain people is when they make a putt, like from 50 feet or hole out from the fairway or make a hole in one. And so if all of a sudden, and it's not always live, all of a sudden you see the camera on a guy, you're thinking, okay, that ball is definitely going in. There's no other reason they're showing his cat. Tyrell Hatton, he ran into some trouble. Tyrell Hatton. He was in contention there real late. Who else had a shot at this thing? Victor Hovland at 55-1 for the professor. This guy makes a couple of putts. You could probably say that about anybody. Scheffler, too, was not good with the stick in that tournament. Otherwise, he is right there. Hovland had many opportunities to put himself onto the top of the leaderboard, but just couldn't get anything to go. So he was effective. Who is Carlos Ortiz? I thought he was the former lightweight champion of the world.
Sounds like a boxer.
He is a boxer, or was a boxer. I think, did he just check out Carlos Ortiz? He may have. I have a reason to like this guy because I'm going to say it was 1967 that I think that was the first time they had a boxing match at Shea Stadium. It was either 67, either that one or the Benvenuti fight against Emil Griffith. They had 2 fights at Shea Stadium that I attended when I was a vendor there. This was in 67. I didn't know much about these guys, as big of a boxing fan as I was. And Carlos Ortiz retained his championship that night against a guy named Ismael Laguna, who he had lifted the title off. And this is weird how this used to happen in boxing. He wins the title off Laguna, Carlos Ortiz, and then doesn't meet him again in a rematch until he had like 4 or 5 more fights. And then they rematch again at Shea Stadium. But I never heard of Carlos Ortiz as a golfer. Did you, Lubie?
Oh, no, I don't know that name. That's why I didn't pay attention because all the names, like I went to my parents Saturday to pick up some stuff and they're watching and I'm like, who are these names? I was like, all right. So I stopped paying attention. I didn't until I saw the shot. That was utterly insane, and people were freaking out about it.
I thought there was a good chance he 3-putts that and ends up in the playoff. Didn't you? I don't know. Did you watch it? 64 feet away, rain-soaked green. Now, he caught a break because his playing partner had an extremely similar putt that he was able to watch.
So he could read it.
He's standing there with an umbrella getting drenched, and you would have to think that the water on the green was going to be a factor there and could have made the ball do virtually anything. But was it not conceivable that he was going to leave this thing 12 feet short or hit it so hard? I mean, it was going to be hard to blow it by the hole under those conditions, but to sink it, that was amazing.
No, that's insane. It was a great putt.
I got to give McIntyre credit, man. His heart had to sink. But when he saw that thing go in, they kept playing the replay, and I'll never forget this one when Tiger Woods made that
I was
that
gonna say
putt
it
on
was.
18 to tie Rocco Mediate,
Yep.
and that was back when they had the 18-hole playoff. We
Early
ended up,
2000s.
courtesy of Leslie Visser, having an interview like a day or two after the tournament with Rocco Mediate, who seems like one of the nicest guys that you could ever imagine. You talk about a guy that really took this thing well. Now, it propelled him into somewhat of a international spotlight. Otherwise, why would we remember Rocco Mediate's career? Was it of any tremendous
Okay,
distinction?
I mean, he was a
Wasn't
pro for a
bad.
long
Yeah,
time.
good guy, but yeah, that's gut wrenching to see that. Imagine you're sitting there in a clubhouse and you see the thing go in when you're thinking, "Oh, look at that, 64 feet." You could smell a three putt on that, Louie. Right in the hole. Right in the hole. Do you leave the stick in on putts of that distance? Wouldn't you have the caddy go up there and tend the flag?
I mean, you
Why
would
would you
think.
want the stick to be in there? Because he had received some really bad breaks earlier. The guy, he was 5 over through 6 holes. He had bogeyed 5 of the first 6 holes, Spawn. And you thought, well, typical, the weight and the pressure got to this guy. He was leading from the beginning. He was playing great. Here's this journeyman, as we mentioned, kind of a Mike Donald type. And he's topped the leaderboard, tin cup kind of stuff. In the final round of the U.S. Open, he comes out there. He looks to be super cool. And then he's just hacking like any average duffer through the first, by pro comparisons, through the first 5, 6 holes. 5 over through 6 holes he was. Bogeyed the first three, I think, 2 or 3, and then had one par, and then bogey. It looked ugly, like he was going to drift to the midway through the pack. And for him to fight back like he did was a pretty incredible story. That was one of the great tournament finishes I've seen, and there have been many great ones. But since it didn't involve a big name necessarily, I don't know that it's going to be preserved in golf culture and history the way that maybe Tiger Woods was when he made that putt to go ahead and set up the playoff with Mediate. What do you think? Are you a favor of the? Then now they go 2 hole aggregate score to decide the U.S. Open.
Oh, that's weird.
Every tournament has a different way of figuring out how to break the ties if it ends up in a dead heat. I think the British Open now, the Open, you play 4 holes. Is that right? Is it 4 holes aggregate score? Some are sudden death. They've gone away from the 18-hole playoff, though. You don't see that very often. I don't think any of them have that anymore.
I don't like that.
Masters, I think, is sudden death also.
I would do 1 hole. Yeah, I mean, I get it. A lot of the time, the guys are tied after 1 hole, and that's annoying. But yeah, I don't. The aggregate.
Officiating is atrocious over the weekend. That was brutal what they did to this Sam Burns guy. I mean, that should come under a criminal investigation.
Weird. It's just be equal. I mean, if the ground's sopping, if a guy asks for it, just let him have it. Come on.
You would think there would be some leniency just due to the conditions and also the fact that guys that played earlier didn't have to deal with that.
Yep.
Right? I mean, whoever was involved earlier in the tournament, they were playing under somewhat ideal conditions in spite of the threat that was hovering over the golf course there of some heavy rain. And fortunately for them, they had no lightning. They were able to finish the thing. But here they are playing essentially under the cover of darkness. The fairways are sopping wet. And if you don't hit the fairway, you're dead meat anyway.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Yeah. So he's right up there against the first cut. He keeps sweeping. He took practice shots showing that the water was just flying all over the place. And 2 guys come up there and go, nope, not happening. After Adam Scott, he would like spit on the ground and they would say, okay, put it right wherever you want there. They would allow. All of a sudden, they put one of those giant tees that you get at a novelty shop in the ground. They say, here, Adam, go ahead, hit the ball. And I'm a fan of Adam Scott. I wouldn't have minded seeing him win the thing, but no, it seemed to be very, very unbalanced the way that they were making those determinations. All right, we're going to come back with more. A lot to talk about. We'll try and get into this Panther game a little bit. Edmonton Oilers, 2 straight Stanley Cups, see what that means. The Marlins had a series sweep over the weekend. Can you imagine that?
Ooh.
A series sweep.
Over the lowly Nationals.
Shohei Ohtani's going back to pitch for the Dodgers. I think he's going to start. Is he starting this week?
Yeah, they were talking about it. I saw that yesterday.
That'll be interesting to watch, no? I mean, Shohei Ohtani, who's having a good season by any standard. I mean, How the hell can you possibly face that club, right? They lead off Otani. They got Mookie Betts batting second. You got Freddie Freeman in the lineup, and then they got a bunch of guys that can knock the hell out of the ball, and they're barely hanging on to first place. Mets got swept over the weekend, and so their lead diminished to Philadelphia. It was like 5. Now all of a sudden it's 2 and a hook. So a lot of interesting stuff as we're probably going to have to wean ourselves into embracing baseball for a little while, except for you have your favorite topic coming up, which is NBA offseason. And now, one of 3 teams that Kevin Durant would like to play for. You're Miami Heat. Did they make that happen? Who's untouchable on the Heat besides Adebayo and Tyler Hero? I mean, if you're going to have Kevin Durant in your lineup, you need those 2 guys to.
I think it's
is that a big 3, or is that just kind of a big 2?
It is as good as what there is in the East. Like, it's not like big 3 era or the Thunder or the Spurs or anything like that, but it's 3 all-star caliber players on the same team which does not exist anywhere else in the East. So it would put you right in the conversation of Eastern favorites. The problem is you have to keep both those guys. I mean, it's going to be interesting.
Who goes in that deal? Duncan Robinson gone, right?
Yeah,
probably as part of a 3-way deal. He ends up in Portland.
Yes, either Jokic or Javier. Yep. Jovic or Jaquez.
Where? How about Khalil Ware?
That's the problem. Is Ware would be a sticking point. Like, if they're smart, they push for Ware. The Heat are smart. They say no. Where he was drafted for as young as he is, showed a lot. And because he's so young, Spo screwed around with playing him early in the season to the point where Bam and other vets had to be like, look, you need to play this kid. He has a lot of promise. And then from the point on, whenever he got starters minutes, he got double-doubles into every single game he played. Again, as a kid who was young, drafted in the late teens to early 20s, and didn't play for half the season, he has a lot of promise, and he literally fits really well with Bam, the thing they've been looking for. He's going to be a major sticking point. So we'll see.
All right, a lot of comments here, too, to address here, Lubie. I thought this was the case. I don't want to say it and then be wrong, but Jim Sarney confirms Otani's starting tonight for the Dodgers. So that makes that elevates the curiosity about that game. They just took 2 out of 3 from the Giants in a little head-to-head showdown with the San Francisco Giants. Andy says the playoff should be a 4-minute UFC match. Kind of like that. Let's let them get in the cage there and just fight it out. That'd be awesome to see golfers just knocking the crap out of each other. And he also says the problem is it's an older Durant. That diminish the whole big 3 kind of concept. I'm not sure that I'm convinced that Durant comes to the Heat, and if they kept Adebayo and Tyler Hero, that they're all that great. Huh? I don't know. What do you think, Libby?
I think they're because I think the Celtics are going to have an off year with Tatum being out all year, and they have a lot of questions with Holiday and Porzingis. So I think they're going to fall back a bit. The Knicks, I think, are an interesting team, but they're not scary. The Cavs.
What a great coaching search they're having.
There is a disaster.
Talk about doing a move, and I mean, what was the point there? The players are sort of back in Thibodeau, and they fire a coach who had taken them to the Eastern Conference Finals, who had them in the playoffs virtually every year, 4 out of 5 seasons that they're there. Not that it's any great distinction to make the playoffs if you have top caliber talent, because more than half the teams in the league end up in the postseason. And then they've gone after or asked for permission to talk to virtually every coach in the league, and all that's doing is getting these guys extensions.
Yes. It's like college.
That's great, isn't it? So where do they end up going with this? They've talked about, I don't know. I mean, we don't have the direct information that they've talked to these college coaches. Did they really talk to Jay Wright about the job? Did they talk to Danny Hurley?
Probably.
Some rumors about that, but they've asked about everybody. Billy Donovan now gets an extension with the Chicago Bulls. It's like a Clockwork Orange, only you want your name to be on the list. Your name was mentioned. Yes. But how far gone? Leon Rose is generally respected as a general manager. I mean, he's a guy that's controlling things. Is he officially the president or the GM of the team or both? Leon Rose with the New York.
I think he's a president. He's a GM for sure, but I think he may be the president, like the
Yeah,
president.
I believe he has the title, and I don't know that they have like some Randy Funn type who's a general manager, but we know that Riley's calling all the shots. What kind of cockamamie scheme was this, though, Lubie? Where they really had no idea who their next coach was going to be. Just fired a guy, and then the players are coming out saying, "Hey, there was nothing wrong with him. Well, we respected him. We thought he was great." What the hell happened here, Louis? Are we ever going to get the real story? What do you think? It's kind of like trying to figure out how is it that Aaron Rodgers had every date that he was ever on was documented to extreme extents, and then all of a sudden he gets married and nobody even knows who the chick is.
Oh, I didn't. Okay, he got married. I don't even know.
I think he did. I don't know. You don't know what's real anymore when you start reading news online. I mean, it's hard to determine. Did he get secretly married somehow and nobody knew about it? Of course, it's no surprise his family didn't know about it. There's your question for you. Somebody verified. Did Aaron Rodgers actually get married? And after, I mean, we knew every movie made with Olivia Munn. We knew every movie made with Danica Patrick. He's had any number of other babes that he's been associated with. How did nobody know that this guy was even dating somebody?
No idea. Oh, because he's been so weird. That's where the focus has been, and not on his love life.
Not that it matters to me, but I mean, what do you think?
I have no
By
idea.
the way, I guess we have to get this in, and we try to stray away from getting overwhelmingly political here on the show because it's as divisive a subject as you could get, and we're here to talk about sports essentially. Although it's not like we ignore what's going on in the world, but I have to say, I mean, if ever they should have just been playing the song "I Love a Parade." What the bleep was that?
I love that you can hear the squeaking of the
squeaking of the wheels, and then
that's bad. It's like a basketball.
thing that's up there online is this look. Melania's like looking at Trump with a big smile on her face, and the minute she turns away, she has a face like, "I can't stand this schmuck." What a sick puppy!
The whole thing was so stupid.
And that was the highlight of the parade. It really was. What was the point of that, man?
It was dumb. It was just dumb.
You know, Kim and Vlad, they had to be laughing their ass off about the way this thing went down.
100%.
So, I mean, you're looking across at just empty seats everywhere. And, of course, there were these massive protests all around the country.
Everywhere.
Every city was just jammed.
Millions of people.
So at what point does this Levitt chick get up there and say, well, maybe it wasn't such a great idea?
Never. She's going to
never admit defeat. Never. All right, we're coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
I don't think Macy's needs to be concerned about their status as a parade generator, though. It's 8:44.
Hey, folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs, unmatched. Steaks, hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Recently realized it's not just hurricanes.
Don't gamble in anger.
She hit the daily.
Very calm. Think it through. If you need a little help, don't gamble in anger.
I get a panic phone call, and he says, "Do you have any extra cash?" I go, "Yeah, I brought money with me to Atlantic City." He goes, "Well, I can't get any more out of the card because the Mustang went wild and emptied the daily allotment of cash."
Double nickels, man. She went for a nickel on her card and a nickel on mine.
The best way to kick off your day is with Defo plus Lubie. We now return to the Defo Show.
That's as true a mantra as you could possibly Possibly. I mean, two things about gambling. Number one, if you're going to gamble, bring your own money. And number two, don't gamble in anger. You really can't. I mean, if you want to retaliate against Scott Foster for jobbing you out of the point spread and the what appeared to be an easy win with Indiana, you're up 4 points and getting 6, Lubie. Come on, NBA. What the hell? Adam Silver needs to be investigated. The other thing that struck me that drew a lot of attention over the weekend, Lubie, and I was surprised by this, the WNBA's Commissioner's Cup. Were you following this, Lubie? Incredible story. I mean, for the WNBA to adopt and capitulate to a really bad idea that the NBA has about the in-season tournament, they have their own in-season tournament.
Oh, Jesus.
I believe the expansion team, who I haven't seen much. I mean, have they won a game? The Valkyries.
Oh, good. What a stupid
Came
name.
in out of Seattle, the Seattle Valkyries. What exactly is a Valkyrie? Do we have any idea what that name associates itself with in terms of what does it represent about the city of Seattle? But yeah, the Commissioner's Cup, isn't that helping the NBA's image all around the world? Are you not riveted to a television set to try and figure out who the hell is going to win the Commissioner's Cup in the WNBA? Well, one of the most ill-conceived things I think that we've ever seen was the in-season tournament. Do we remember? Did the Pacers win the in-season tournament this year?
I don't know. Maybe.
Possible that it's a springboard to an NBA.
They won it last year. Remember, it was them and the Lakers last year, or the Lakers won. I don't know. Yeah, I think they've taken it seriously the last 2 years.
Did Milwaukee win it? Who the hell won the Commissioners? I mean,
maybe the Bucks. Maybe
might have been the Bucks. Might have been.
I remember Giannis holding a trophy, and everyone, yay!
Well, what a stupid idea that was. I mean, look, to just name everything. It's kind of like when they expanded all these boxing organizations. And I remember when I was doing a lot of boxing play-by-play, every fight was a title fight.
Yeah,
Here we go on 4 rounds. These guys are making their pro debut, but the IBF lightweight title is on the line tonight. What a coveted belt that will be.
Pro debut.
You know, he had his own boxing organization, and this surprised me because I ran into this guy many, many times as he was presenting belts to people. Was the former pitcher Dean Chance.
Oh, wow.
Who was a fairly significant baseball player, Dean Chance. I can't recall all of his distinctions, but he had a few of them. I don't know. Did he ever pitch a no-hitter? We'll have to check with Sarni on that. Dean Chance. But he was a good pitcher. And then I remember I was doing some boxing, and I'm thinking, what the hell is the IBF? No, not the IBF. He had the IBC or something. I don't know. He had some kind of ridiculous alphabet soup organization that nobody paid any attention to. And so he was always prominent handing out belts. And you're asking yourself, how is this a title fight? One guy's 2-1, and the other guy was a typical opponent that they brought in from the Midwest that had a record of 7-17. And he finds himself fighting for some kind of championship. In the blue corner, here's Ladislao Mijangos, who is part of the poster behind me, if you can see it on the screen, and has the distinction of being a former Mexican heavyweight champion, which not of the world, but just of Mexico, which I think there are only 2 heavyweights in Mexico in its history, including Andy Ruiz, the little short, fat guy who knocked out Anthony Joshua and won the championship. He was great. He was a great story. All right, let's get some analysis here, Lubie. Tonight, Oklahoma City, Indiana Pacers. I didn't see the line on this game. I'm assuming it's somewhere around 9 or 10 points. And I also, is there anybody out there that senses that the Pacers are going to somehow bounce back off of that atrocity? And that, I don't know that it was a robbery completely, but I mean, it was very unfairly officiated, I thought, or unbalanced in the last few minutes of the game. Very favorable to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. When you shove a guy off and then travel on the same plane,
I hate when they do nothing on those calls.
Guys looking right at it. I mean, literally, it wasn't Foster, but there was another off official, one of the other officials. Literally, he has a clear angle of all of it. And then they showed a replay, and then what's wrong with these announcers, too? What happened to just stepping up and saying, well, that should never have happened?
Oh, Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson aren't going to judge. I mean, they're happy to just have a job. Like, the
big story is that maybe Doris Burke doesn't have a job anymore. Although I like Doris Burke. I don't know that she's as much fun to listen to as Van Gundy and Mark Jackson were.
She was fine as a sideline person or being the color analyst on a Saturday afternoon game with Ryan Ruocco. Like she's not
A WNBA game or a women's college?
no, it's not even she's just in. Like, and Richard Jefferson, and before him, JJ Redd. Look, Van Gundy and Mark Jackson would get on your nerves a little because they were too much.
They had chemistry, though.
But they were good. Like, they knew basketball. They were good together. Breen fit in with them. It worked. Like, it was weird that they did anything with that, and I don't know why they did anything with that. Like, the groups they've had since have been
Was it money? What the hell was? What was the reason?
It probably was money, because that's what is with ESPN. They don't like paying anyone. But like, I don't know. I mean, she's horrendous. Richard Jefferson, he didn't call any games at all. Now he's calling finals. Like, come on. I mean, it's weird. That crew is super weird.
Doesn't seem to have real deep insight. Now, Van Gundy, what was he taken off because he was critical of officials?
Yes,
and strategies and things like that.
They weren't happy that he was honest. Yeah,
they get rid of the guy who's doing his job, right? That was kind of like in any radio or TV job. That when they would tell you, you know what, we want you to push the envelope right to the line.
Yeah, right.
Or it borders on bad taste.
Sure.
And so then you go ahead and you do it. Kind of like I talk about with this syndrome when you're asked to do a roast.
Yeah.
And so then you get up there and you do what a roast is supposed to be all about, where you absolutely skewer the person. And then everybody's mad at you. You're like, well, what the hell? You told me to go ahead and slaughter this guy, annihilate him from a verbal standpoint. And you're looking out at the crowd there, and the people that aren't happy are the very people that told you to go ahead and do this. Is that like being set up to be a sacrificial lamb? But
yep.
And somebody should. I mean, for a guy to be screaming about that particular play, that was I hate to use this word with regard to a play because we're talking about it in relation to the many games that are taking place, but that was as pivotal a play as you could possibly get, where Gilgeous-Alexander should have been called for the offensive foul. Clear shove. I mean, he shovels the guy into the paint, and then he backs up, and he kind of loses his balance a little bit, takes 3 steps, and shoots a jumper. You could not have missed that. It's impossible. Everybody, I know Indiana, the crowd, of course, is going crazy because everybody sees this. And I don't know. I mean, Doris Burke and Richard Jefferson sort of soft-soaked it, didn't they? Should not one of the two of them at least have been somewhat, aghast about the idea that Indiana was getting jobbed on its home wood. And so I don't know. I don't feel good about tonight's game from an Indiana standpoint, Lubie. I don't know how you feel about it. Will it be close? In your opinion?
Look, the games outside of one game has been close, so I think the Pacers will hang around. I just think the Thunder are going to finish it off tonight. Not the series, obviously, but just they'll take a lead in this series for, I guess, the first time in the series, and they'll be in control. But I will say, the way we've seen the Pacers play, I wouldn't put it past them to take this to 7 games. The way they played overall and the way they play at home. I mean, they should have won both of those games. So I feel like the Thunder will impose their will a little bit tonight, get it to 6 with the lead, and then the Pacers will probably win game 6 and take it to 7. That's sort of where I didn't feel like that going in Friday night's game. Like going into Friday night's game, I really felt like the Thunder would pull away, and that would be the end of the series. You'd see the Thunder that we thought we'd see, but the fact that the Pacers really led most of that game puts this series into perspective. Even when they were up 2-1, I never thought, I thought that this was the Thunder series the whole time, and now I really do think that this series is sort of in flux, especially the way we've seen the Pacers play in Oklahoma City. They took a game in Oklahoma City. Like, this series to me is it may not be wide open, but the fact that the Thunder are laying 9 and a hook still in these games is a little weird to me. Like, the Pacers have been game every one but one game. Like, to give them no chance, and that's what that line is in the NBA Finals, is sort of off and weird.
It's funny too, because I think it's sort of startling for me to say that I may be a fossil when it comes to gambling at this point. Because I'm out. You'll find this surprising. I was at a pari-mutuel facility on Saturday, my usual Saturday jaunt to the simulcasting room there at the now known as the Pomp, the Harrah's Casino that was Pompano Park, where many a glorious evening was spent. And everybody's showing you their bets that they made, and none of them have anything to do with who wins the game or the point spread. It's almost all prop bets. Big Al had something going where he had like a 5-component parlay, and none of them involved the outcome of the game. It's all over-under totals on guys' rebounds, assists, points, and he gets clobbered. He had like $25 to win 800. Needed 5 things to happen. He hits the first 4.
Oh,
And
God.
then I think he had Neesmith to score over 9 points, and the guy fouls out with 7.
No.
There's so many ways to get killed. I mean, but I don't hear anybody talking about, oh, well, I had Indiana plus 6. Nobody does this anymore. Does anybody give a flying one about the outcome of the game?
I mean, they have it there, so people are doing it, but it feels like they're using it in parlays as much as anything else.
If that. I don't even know that anybody even includes that in their parlays anymore.
I don't know.
It's all obscure stuff, like would Hartenstein have more than 3 assists? That kind of
weirdest crap.
Who can predict that?
It's just weird to have to watch for that. Like,
no wonder FanDuel is buying networks.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally, I mean, they're buying networks. It's incredible. It's only a matter of time before they own CBS. When will everybody finally be drained? What they think are like minor outlays of cash. It doesn't add up, does it, Lubie? If all these people are making these small $5 parlays with 20 different components in an effort to win a gargantuan sum. Now, if you can hit one, great. Maybe you're out the door and you're out for life. But it has to be an overwhelming percentage of wins for the book. In this case, FanDuel, DraftKings, or whatever app, the Hard Rock that you're betting with. And how many, if they have to pay off on one of these things, how many people are losing their ass? It's crazy, right?
Millions.
They couldn't afford to give these kind of odds out if they weren't just cleaning up on the rest of the public.
100%.
My God. And then they only post a thing where, hey, look at this. The guy had a $20 ticket. He won $140,000.
Yeah, they show the one winner and not the millions of losers.
It's like the pictures, very, very few and far between. The pictures of the people with the winning slot hits where, you walk in the casino and just like you used to walk into like Shula's Steakhouse back in the day in Miami Lakes, and there would be a picture of a guy on a wall who ate the 48-ouncer. And there'd be several of those. And now you have the pictures of the people that have won on the slot machines. But it doesn't take into account the other 1.5 million people that rolled through there and lost their ass. They never have pictures of that, do they?
Oh, no.
No. Down in the gutter, a guy who's selling his car in the garage.
Exactly.
I think we ought to do something like that.
Andy at 4 a.m. watching Korean ping pong, Chinese ping pong. Yeah. Waiting on the last and gets a double fault.
The latest in-season acquisition, the greatest in-season acquisition here, is it Brad Marchand or is that just the latest one?
I mean,
who else came to town? I mean, we had Kim Eng bring in Berger.
Just for us?
Josh
Bell. Talking about in general, like Scoop was saying, just ever.
It's one of the best ever, no question.
For him to come in, and again, they are a good team. They were great without him. They had been to 2 straight Stanley Cup Finals.
Could they have won this series without Brad Marchand?
Oh, no. I mean, look, I don't know who else could have stepped up, and you never know with this team, but going off of what happened, like literally didn't he get him on the scoreboard when it was a tight game and the goalie looked great. And
he
then
got huge goals too. Huge.
And then he got the third goal again, because that third goal was Bobrovsky in this game was going to give up 2 goals. Like I knew it was happening. So it was like, get that third goal. Please get the third goal. And then he's the one that got the third goal to really, it didn't put it on the ice exactly, because if it was 3-2, it would have felt really shaky. But in essence, it was the game winner. The other 2 were just for gravy. Like he's done that every game. Every game he's had an imprint on every series for the Panthers, and not every player can say that. Like he's been fantastic. It's been probably the best. Look, the Heat have made some interesting moves that have helped them win series and titles, and we've seen the Dolphins and the Marlins do it. But for him to be arguably their best player, that I don't know. I don't know if they've made those moves and the guy ascend to be the best player.
We're talking late season acquisitions here.
Yeah, in season trade deadline type stuff.
But like we had the Shaq acquisition that certainly changed the dynamic. At the time, they didn't win it that year, but they certainly leaned on that and made progress with it, and eventually won the title. Even though Zoe kind of what was the main catalyst there once they got to the postseason. We've seen people come to other teams in town during the season, but even wasn't the Alonzo Mourning trade? Wasn't that done during the season
Off season.
when they first? That was
No,
an off season?
no, it had that was in season, right?
Yeah,
Because that's
I
why
thought it
they
was
were
like
short,
early in the year, right?
they were shorthanded versus the Bulls because of all the moves they had made. Didn't they make like the Hardaway move and the zone move somewhere? I have to look it up, but that's
The Hardaway trade was in the season, and that was
isn't that
the
why they were
that was the
short?
Rex Chapman game where he had like 9 threes against the Bulls.
Wasn't the zone move off of that as well? Like that's why they were down to like 6 guys total in that game because he had wheeled and dealed and gotten an aging Hardaway who hadn't been anything in years because of injuries, who was ready to show that he could do it again, and then Zoe, who was already good with the Hornets, but was trying to take it to another level. Like I think those were in season moves.
I don't know that I've seen one like this though.
But
Certainly not in Miami.
No, I mean, this is nuts.
And in general, I don't know that anybody has come to a team late in the year and had this much impact where you're thinking this guy has been, I mean, he could easily be. Imagine if you had this guy as the MVP of the finals. I would imagine you're getting pretty good odds, which you were on JJ Spawn, where you would have the guts to take 150 to 1 on JJ Spawn. You would have been tearing up your ticket though after the first 5 holes of that. That was great stuff. That was the highlight of the weekend there. I thought real Horatio Alger's Cinderella rags to riches story with JJ Spawn winning the U.S. Open. Very, very compelling stuff coming out of the world of golf. All right, we have to get out of here. Went by too quickly here today, Lubie. We'll do it again tomorrow. Thanks so much for being with us. And we will, for Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. Thanks for tuning in. I'm surprised about Jim Sarney, though, missing this one. How did he not mention Sophie O'Connell?
Oh, I don't know what that is.
Sophie O'Connell. I actually was flipping around there because the Panthers seemed to be in complete command, and I ended up on women's college track and field in honor of Jim Sarney, and I believe Sophie O'Connell out of Washington University won the women's 1500 in convincing fashion. Big, tall girl, too. I mean, not the typical size that you see or body type that you see on a mile runner. And so I'm watching that, and I was amazed I didn't get a text from Sarney. Are you watching this? And I think I may have eclipsed him on his bizarre, obscure, off the beaten path, minutia type of sporting events for the weekend. And he probably was watching that on his phone. Since he won by open distance, he probably didn't think it was all that significant. All right, we have to get out of here. Thanks so much for being with us. For Mike Lubie Lubitz, I'm Jeff DeForest. We'll see you next time as we leave you now that.
The time.
It's 9:03.
Let's go to eat a damn snack. Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done